morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Susie.
Hi, guys. I think Siri's gonna come on. I'm not sure. I've never done one of these.
No, I think she is coming on. Here she comes.
There she is.
No, it takes a hot minute to get on, huh?
Yeah.
Click, click, click.
Yeah, that drives me crazy every time. I'm like, what is the holdup here?
I know. Sign in twice.
I always have to sign in twice. I feel like I never get the code.
Needs to be an easier way. Well, good morning, everybody. We have to celebrate that we have Susie on here.
Yay!
Ashley asked me, she goes, so who do you want to have on with Systems of Siri? And I was like, Susie. I know she's gonna love this.
Yes. Yeah, bear with me. This is not, this is totally out of my wheelhouse. I don't even like pictures of me taken. So, good
You always
morning.
do so well.
Totally fun seeing your face on here. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, good morning. And, this has nothing to do with work, but I just want to wish my dad a happy birthday in heaven. So it's kind of,
Nice.
I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe a little kismet here today. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wish him a happy birthday and have a celebration day in heaven.
yeah. So, so this morning we're gonna just go over what the TC department does here at the Brand Realty and some best practices for agents. So I think let's just move along. It's 10:03, so let's get going. I'm going to be reading some things, and I'll share some screens maybe in a little bit. But here at the Brand Realty, it is our mission in the TC department to serve our agents by providing exceptional file management, customer service, and communication, all while bringing our team's core values of responsibility, reliability, rich mindset, respectfulness, and realness to every transaction that we process. The transaction coordinators here at the office are myself, Suzee McKay, and Rachel Puckett. And we consider ourselves your partner in the real estate transaction. And I think we're an invaluable part of the real estate team. We work behind the scenes to deliver a quick, efficient, and smooth real estate transaction process for you and your clients, along with making sure that your file is DRE and Real Broker compliant. Your TC manages all the details involved in closing your real estate transaction and monitors the whole process through the agents, clients, escrow companies, lenders, and the broker. And if you have not used us before, you'll learn as you go along. And I think most of you that are on the Zoom right now have worked with us. But some of the things that we do for you is that we enter the transaction in all of our real estate platforms. That's Follow Up Boss, Sisu, Resin, the Real Broker platform. We share the transaction timeline on the agent's Google Calendar, and we communicate with all parties throughout the transaction. We communicate with the agents on the other side, the lenders, escrow, title. We communicate with everybody just to make sure that we're staying on track and that things are moving along smoothly. When we get a new deal, we open up the email and send an opening email to the cooperating agent and to escrow. Either it's a TC intro or a new escrow intro, and we outline the transaction. I send a humongous email, but it has all the details of the transaction, not only the contingency removal dates, closing date, but I spell out everything that's going on in the transaction. If it's on the contract, it's on my opening email. And what's good about that is your clients can refer back to that, and everybody in the transaction can refer back to that. And if we've got a question, say, I don't know, day 21 of 30, and it says, seller's like, hell no, the washer and dryer aren't conveying. Well, that wasn't counted out and I guess somebody didn't read the contract or the opening emails. So even though it's a lengthy synopsis of the transaction, I think it's really good just for you, for everybody to stay on top of what is happening and what is a part of this transaction. After we send out our opening email, we will send your client's contact info to escrow, and we will not include the other side of the transaction on that email. You don't want to provide your client's information to the buyer's agent or the listing agent. So if you guys go ahead and do that before your TC is rolling on the transaction, just make sure don't CC the other party. This is your client's private information. Let's see, we will also send a congratulations email to your buyer. Again, that's that lengthy opening email that outlines everything in the transaction. And I love it when your clients say thank you. A lot of the times we don't get a response, but I just know that that's gone out and that will cover them for their details on the transaction as we move along. As I said previously, we will communicate with the lender, and there are some important things in communicating with the lender. Did the appraisal get ordered? Has it come back yet? Did it come in at value? Are there any repairs? Especially if it's FHA or VA, we want to know if there are some repairs that are needed to be done in order for the loan to be approved. So your TCs will communicate with the appraiser or with the other side of the transaction to make sure that that is on track. We will communicate with escrow. We're going to always check in. Did you get your EMD escrow? Did that come in on time? Did we receive the necessary escrow documents? Commission instructions, escrow instructions, preliminary title, HOA documents. Your TC will make sure that those items come in a timely fashion so that when it's time for inspection contingency removal, buyers received all those items, or we will leave those off the inspection contingency removal until we receive them and the buyer has had their time to review the documents, which is 5 days from receipt. Let's see. We will deliver updates to the buyers and sellers and other agents in the transaction. So, oftentimes we'll get emails, hey, what's happening with the appraisal? I'll chime in for you. I will give an update, but feel free as the agent to do so as well. We're not saying that you just stand back and not doing anything, but feel free to chime in, but we will, as your TC, make sure that we are staying on top of all of those communications. And then finally, as we do get to closing and after we close, the TC department here at the Brand Realty, we will send a congrats on closing email to your client, usually within about 2 weeks of closing, and that will contain all of the transaction documents. So let's just say a year from now, your client's doing taxes, they need their final settlement statement. We can quickly get that document over to your client. You can as well, as you were CC'd on that email. So, we like to just stay accountable to our clients and make sure that they have everything that they need during and after the transaction. Another part of the TC's duties that we will ensure that documents are submitted accurately and on time. So again, we stay on top of, did we get disclosures in a timely fashion? Or if we're on the listing side, did we send them out in a timely fashion? Most of the time, disclosures are due to the other side of the transaction within 7 days, unless that's been extended or shortened in the purchase agreement. So if those items are not received on day 7, your TC is certainly going to chime in. Ooh, hi, Bo, and your little cutie. Are going to chime in and make sure that those documents get out to your client in a timely fashion, or we're not going to remove that contingency until they receive and review. Let's see. So as well, we will deliver the required forms, like we said, on disclosures to your client. Part of the other duties that we as TCs do, when we get a new escrow, we're going to review the purchase contract. We're going to review the pending form, and we're going to make notes and alert our agent of any discrepancies, missing signatures, initials, documents. just to make sure that we have everything that is a part of the purchase contract, that we understand the purchase contract, and that we're not missing anything. We often do not receive a complete contract. There might be a counter offer missing, so we will check in with you to make sure if we're suspecting that we're not getting a full contract, we will reach out to you. Your TC will review and send property disclosures to your client via a program called Glide, and then the signature program is DocuSign. Like I said, we review those disclosures and we will alert you if there's something unusual in the disclosures. Now, keep in mind, we as TCs, we've never seen the property, but we'll alert you. Like, for instance, if I see on the SPQ that somebody has passed away in the property, I will alert you just to make sure your client is not surprised. And hopefully the other agent has alerted you on this as well. We will review the preliminary title report, and we will notify you as well as other parties in the transaction if we see some red flag items. If we see judgments, tax liens, those are the two big items. If we're seeing a foreclosure notice, we will alert escrow and we will ask, hey, is this going to slow down or cause a concern with closing on this transaction? For instance, if you've got a tax lien, I mean, I've seen 100,000, 200,000 plus tax liens on a preliminary title report, and I've done many short sales. That's not a quick process to clean and to clear. Oftentimes the seller may have an attorney involved trying to negotiate the payoff, and just getting the payoff from the IRS. Those two items right there can take a lot of time. And let's say they've had a tax lien that's been seasoning for a number of years. You know, it may put them in a position of needing to do a short sale if that tax lien is too big and they do not have the proceeds. So something like that, I'm always going to check on and alert everybody in the process. And I kind of don't take flip responses from escrow like, oh, it's not going to be a problem. I want to know, did the demands get ordered? Is there an attorney involved? So keep that in mind. And you should also be reviewing the preliminary title report as well. I tend to, hone in on the judgments and on the liens, but you also want to look out for things like road maintenance agreements, especially in kind of rural areas and Fallbrook. You'll see road maintenance agreements on there, and you really want your client to review that before moving forward, because I've had some transactions in the past where 9 years later, they're taking the seller to court over a road maintenance agreement that they felt wasn't disclosed properly. So just keep that in mind. Again, we will make sure that HOA docs have been ordered. Once the buyer's earnest money deposit is in, that's generally when escrow will go ahead and order HOA documents, because there's usually a pretty fat or sizable upfront fee that the seller is going to have to pay. So we'll make sure that the docs got ordered, when are they due in, and once they're received by your client, we want to make sure that your client has the full 5 days to review those documents before they remove that inspection contingency. What other things does your TC do? We will order a natural hazards report if needed, but generally that's done by our listing coordinator, but we'll do it if we need it. We will order the home warranty. I generally order the home warranty after the home inspection is done. And in our purchase agreements, we have it templated for $650 with Home Warranty of America. And what's nice about that fee is they'll get a platinum coverage for a year. They'll get refrigerator, washer, and dryer coverage, as well as we have a little overage. Usually it's about $90, and something like that will either cover like sewer coverage or limited roof repair. And I will go into the home inspection report. I will look and see what were the items that were noted by the inspector. If I've both got plumbing and roof, I'm gonna reach out to the agent and see if your client has a preference on which option they would like. Otherwise, if I see a bunch of items that note roof, I'm gonna order the limited roof coverage for your client. So that way they get nice coverage for the next year. Some more of our main duties, we do risk management and we ensure that all required documents have been properly executed before we upload them to Real Broker Platform Resin. We will audit and review the files as we move along in the transaction. We will let you, as the agent, know where we're at, what documents are needed, what are still outstanding. We will upload the transaction again, like we said, into Resin for broker review. I tried to upload my documents as soon as signed documents come in because I want my file approved in the most timely fashion with the broker. So I like to get those done and uploaded as soon as possible. And then the TCs also validate the commission in Real Broker Resin account. We do the breakdown that we send to you via DocuSign for management here at the team and for you to review and make sure that that's correct. And then we will send commission disbursement to our broker and send all of those documents over to escrow so that you get paid in a timely fashion. Our main goal is to make sure that you guys have a smooth transaction and that you get paid on time for your hard work. I never want to get your check delayed. What is the cost for a TC here at the brand? It is $5.95, and that fee is paid either by your client or by the agent. We have buyer representation and broker compensation agreement templates in our team zip forms, so that's ready for you to go. And as well, it's noted on our listing agreement templates. So if you have a client that either does not want to pay this fee, which you should be able to school them or inform them with the valuability of having a transaction coordinator overseeing the transaction and then being able to get a file at the end of closing with all of their documents, you should be able to communicate that importance of that to your client and the valuability of that service. But if not, you as the agent would have to pay. There are often situations with VA loans where the buyer is not able to pay. That's a VA non-allowable fee. Every so often, a VA lender either does not catch the fee or it is allowed, but 9 times out of 10 in my experience, it's not an allowable fee for the client. So you as the agent would have to pay for that service. Just a little bit about me. I know I'm kind of breezing quickly, but I've been licensed since 2003, and I started off as a receptionist at Remax and Encinitas in, gosh, 99 or 2000. I have transaction coordinated thousands and thousands of deals, and I have negotiated somewhere between 250 and 300 short sales back in the day between 2008 and say 2013-14. So I've got quite a bit of experience. I have sold just a couple properties. So I'm always available for you if you've got any questions, if you're not sure what forms to use, need some tips and tricks on what verbiage is needed in addendums or requests for repairs, I am here for you. And I am also, I have a partner here at the office on the Brand Realty team, and Rachel Puckett is my partner, and she's been licensed for 6 years in California, and she also has a Colorado license as well. So you've got an educated TC team behind you and here to support you. So so I'm really happy that we're able to provide some pretty high level services for you guys. Does anybody have any questions on kind of the overview on what TC do for you?
Suzee's pretty legit, right?
Oh, yeah, way legit. I have a quick question for you, Susie. It's about the auto-generated forms that get sent out to clients and things like that.
Yes.
I'm now starting to see the difference between what you send me versus something that pops up that is a reminder maybe, but I know that it's already taken care of, or you know it's already taken care of. But yeah, the auto-generated reminders, I guess I don't have a question. I'm just
Yeah.
stating
No,
something here.
I've seen you lately, Wendy. You've been responding to those, and I like that very much. It lets me know that you're receiving and reading emails, which I'm always thrilled about, that I get confirmation that everybody is seeing what's coming through emails. I know you guys are out in the field for many, many hours a day, so I'm not going to hammer you when I see questions from agents on the other side, but I love acknowledgements. But yes, in our Sisu platform, that's where the TCs have our checklists for what to do for a transaction. There is a section in there that are auto emails that go out to either the agent on our side or the client. And it's really reminders. It's reminders for you. It's reminders for me. But feel free to chime in and respond. Again, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy that you're reading those and you're on top of your transaction. But if you don't want to respond, that's fine too. It is auto-generated. And I'll tell you, probably 8 times out of 10, whatever it's reminding you of is probably already been handled already. So,
Yeah.
so thank you for that, Wendy. I love that you've been doing that lately.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So let's, I guess, talk about some best practices when working with a TC and then just as an agent in general. Before you even submit your offer, if you're a buyer agent and you're submitting an offer to the other side, ask yourself, are you presenting a complete offer with all of the forms that need to be associated with that offer? For instance, do you have an FHA or a VA loan? You need an FVAC form when you send that offer. Does the property have septic? Do you want to send a septic addendum asking the seller to locate, pump, cert, and inspect that septic system? If I know there's a septic system on a property, that is number one what I want to have inspected on the property. That can be a humongous issue if that septic tank is out of its life. I mean, that could be $20,000, $30,000. It may need to be moved. The property may now be close enough to new construction, or the neighborhood is built up, and now they won't allow a septic anymore. They want it to be connected to the city sewer system. That could be an $85,000 deal right there, a bill. So, so ask yourself and make sure, is the property on public sewer or septic? Is there a tenant in the property? If there is, you need a TOPA form, tenant occupied form. Is your client, seller or buyer, are they purchasing in a trust? If so, you want to, number one, get a copy of their trust document, at least the first page, outlining who the trust is and who the trustees are. And you want to include a representative capacity signature form, RCSD. Is there going to be a seller rent back? Is the seller going to remain in the property post-closing? Is it going to be 29 days or less? That would be a SIP form. Is it going to be 30 days plus? That's going to be a residential listing agreement after sale. Is your buyer removing some contingencies with the offer and you've checked off the contingency removal box? Is that form included? And finally, who is paying the TC fee? Is it you? If it's you, nothing needs to be done. If it's your client, you need a buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. And it's super handy to have that submitted to your TC when you are submitting your purchase agreement. If not, I'm going to dig around in zip forms and see if you've done it. And if it has not been executed, I will reach out to you and we'll see if we're going to be sending one of those out. So those are some items. Once before you even send out your offer, please consider, what forms are affiliated with your offer, and did you include all of those? I also highly recommend that you review the offer before you send that out to your client. I know all of you, every one of you probably do that, but just make sure you're reviewing it. And when you send it off through the signature program, review it and make sure it's all tagged properly for signatures. You want to show yourself and your client in the best light. And that is with a tight, clean offer with all signatures and all info that's required completed, such as the last page of the purchase contract. Is your name in there? Is your phone number in there? Is your email in there? Is the broker's address in there? So I just highly encourage you, review quickly before you shoot that off to make sure that everything is needed and that your offer and your client is shown in the best light. So now we've done all that, and you've got an offer accepted, and we are thrilled. And your first thing that you need to do is to complete a pending form. And that is for the Brand Realty team. That is one of our one of the items that we do here. We have a lot of systems and back-end operations that talk to each other and zap each other. So it's very important that when you do get an offer accepted, either you're a listing agent or a buyer agent, you complete your pending form. And I'm going to share my screen right now and just give you a shot of where you can find the pending form. So this is my contact. Can you guys all see the pending form? No? Yes? Okay. So this is, let's just say this is your client's Follow Up Boss account. And over here on the left side under custom fields, you will see pending form. And this is where you're going to go and start opening up your transaction with the team. If you do not see this link in Follow Up Boss, it's probably because your client is a sphere of influence, an SOI client, and you will need to first fill out an appointment form, then a disposition form, and then the link for the pending form will be triggered. So again, if you have a client that you have not done those forms, appointment and disposition, you'll need to do those first, and they're quick little forms. And then you can complete your pending form. You may also be able to find it over here in the interface form under opportunities. It will pop up in a second. You can also go in here and click and do your pending form, but best practice is over here under custom fields. One item to note, because all of our systems are highly integrated and talk to each other, let's say you have a client, Felissa had a client recently where they got under contract, and I think it was within a day or two, they identified the house of their dreams and canceled the first contract and got under contract on a second one. So over here in our deal section, because this is my my FUB, you don't see a deal, but let's just say this was Felissa's client, and it had 123 Test Street in here as pending. If we as the TC are not alerted that that transaction is canceling, that deal is going to remain in FUB in this section. And when you do your pending form, this deal that's not been canceled is really going to override everything that you've just put in your pending form. And we're going to have to manually input things in Sisu. So just just a tip, if you are under contract and it cancels, make sure your TC is involved and that we have notification enough that we can make updates to our system. So that is that. With the pending form, again, it's really, really important that you do fill out that form. We do have exceptions. If you are an elite agent on our team, you can simply email the transaction to the TCs, and we will assign that file, and we will open up the file, and we will complete the pending form for our elite agents. But again, it works with our back office. It populates info into FUB and CSU. And so again, it's just really important accuracy and spelling and capitalization are done correctly on those forms. The pending form will also ask you to upload purchase contract documents. Unfortunately, the pending form only gives you 3 uploads. So, you know, just kind of consider that. If you're not able to upload everything to the pending form, shoot the TC department an email with all of the documents involved. And that would include lender pre-approval and buyer proof of funds. You as an agent, you have the ability to merge forms. That would be optimal if you did. So if you've got, I don't know, 5 counter offers and an RPA and an SIP and a yada, 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 you can go into your zip forms. You can upload the documents into the zip forms for that transaction. You can click on however many documents you want to merge. You can save to a PDF and merge that all into one single document. So you do have the ability to merge, and I highly encourage you to merge. But otherwise, email us so that we have a complete file. I'll tell you it's a big time killer for TCs running around trying to, you know, is the seller multiple counter offer signed on Section 8? No. Was buyer counter offer signed by anybody? No. So those things take time when we're opening a transaction. So if you can get us all of the executed documents, that's awesome. If you can make notes in your pending form that things are not fully executed yet, that's really, really helpful because we're going to be asking questions. Let's see here. Assigning TCs. The files are assigned first come, first serve, and it really depends upon what the volume is that day as far as transactions coming in. Right now in December, it's fairly slow, but you know, come March, April, May, we may be getting 5, 10, 15 deals a day. There's no way the TC department can tell you who's going to be handling that file. So the best practice would be especially if the other agent on the other side is like, hey, we need to know who the TC is, just let them know, CC TC at the brand Realty. And then once the file comes in, the TC assigned to that file will chime in, introduce themselves. And then moving forward, we will just use my email or Rachel's email. And if you have somebody that's super insistent, I don't know, that's kind of a red flag to me if they can't accept a response. But if somebody's really insistent upon knowing who it is, reach out to Rachel and I, and we can assist you with that. But that's an exception, not a rule. Some of the other things that are best practices for working with a TC, like we said in the beginning, we consider ourselves your partner in the transaction. And I think most all of us, when we have a partner, we communicate with our partner. We let them know what's going on. I know at the end of the day, when I get home, my husband, this is what happened. This is what we need to do. This is what's coming up. So please, if you could consider us, the TC department, your partner, communicate with us. That is, I think, the biggest pet peeve for me is lack of communication. I may be, you know, you may have just spoken to the appraiser, you know, this morning, and now I'm asking the appraiser for an update. You don't chime in. I don't know. It just kind of makes us not look so great that we're not in communication with each other. And I never want our team and my agent to have a bad light shined upon them. I always want you guys to shine. So again, communication is really the key to that. And you can communicate with us every way: email, text, Slack. You can phone us. We're here for you, and we will be available for you. We may not be able to pick up that call right away, but we will call you back in a timely fashion. I think you see, if you send a Slack message to us, the TC department generally gets back to you in about 10 minutes. So we respect your time, and hopefully, you will consider, again, us your partner, that you respect us, and that you will communicate with us in a timely fashion. And as well as if agents on the other side, or escrow, or anybody on the other side of the transaction, if they're asking, hey, are we confirmed we're going to close on the 21st instead of the 15th, and it's now 24 hours and you haven't responded, that doesn't look so great. So, just make sure that you are communicating, and you are communicating in a timely fashion. Another best practice, and this is a bugaboo, I think, for the TC department, and we probably annoy the heck out of you, but agent visual inspection disclosures. The agent visual inspection disclosure is a form required by Real Broker. If no ifs, ands, or buts. Even if you can't go into the property, it's still required. You'll just write, hey, seller has the key, we can't get in the property, buyer removed all their contingencies. You need to complete an AVID. The only exception would be for new construction and referrals. Otherwise, every transaction. In RPA section 11A2, it addresses the AVID. Agents must do a visual inspection of the property as part of their disclosure obligations in California. In other words, agents are required to walk through the property and advise parties to the contract of any red flags they may see. Now, this can be done on TDS on page 3 if you're a buyer's agent and you didn't want to do an AVID, you could make notes in there, but Real Broker requires the AVID, so you got to do it. And the AVID, you have, like I said, we have to note that in either section 3 or 4 on page 3 of the TDS. So when the TCs receive disclosures, and when we send those out for signatures, we are always going to check the box, either AVID attached if you've already completed it, or AVID to follow, and that the agent recommends the buyer get a thorough inspection of the property through an inspector, licensed inspector, or inspector. So we will always make those comments on the TDS. Another
Suzee?
big, yes.
I have a question for you. When I go to listing appointments, I typically will take with me hard copies of the TDS and the SPQ and kind of do a little introductory thing of what's required by the seller. But Gary has helped to inform me that there is a glide. We can do that through Glide. Can you walk me through how that gets initiated?
Well, Glide is a program that you guys don't have access to, but that's where it is tied into our zip forms. It's just a platform that's much easier for the TCs, and that we don't have to go into each and every agent's specific account or each file in zip forms. But through Glide, we upload the documents into Glide, and then from there, it goes into DocuSign, and we're able to type in text as needed. We're able to type in dates, because often when we get disclosures, the other side is not referencing the purchase agreement date. And then, as well as like the AVID, we're able to check the boxes and add the note that AVID is to follow or attached, and that the verbiage regarding buyer recommended to get thorough instructions or investigations and inspections. If you, of the agent, have a specific verbiage that you want to put on the TDS, let us know, and we will put in a text field to allow you to type in as needed. But generally just our templated verbiage for AVID to follow and get a thorough investigation are generally what we put in, because that the AVID is going to be where you're really putting down your notes about the property.
Hey, Susie, and just so I'm clear, I think when we're talking about TDS and SPQ, Lauren sends that out via Glide, right? Not you guys. That was my
Well,
understanding.
yeah, I think because I'm the transaction coordinator, I'm dealing with deals in escrow. Yes, but yes, Gary, thank you. Lauren Ward is our listing coordinator, and she also uses Glide to send out the disclosures. Glide, what's wonderful about Glide and TDSs and SPQs is it allows the form to be sent to your client, which prompts them through the TDS and the SPQ and prompts them to answer the questions. And if they have answered yes to questions, prompts them to do an explanation. So Glide is tremendo in that respect.
Yeah.
One shortfall of Glide and say SPQ is if your seller answers no to an HOA or CC&Rs, that whole section in the SPQ gets skipped over, and so that's where your TC on the file comes into play. We review the TDS and the SPQ, and if we find that yeah, there is HOA or CC&Rs, we'll kick that back and ask for a revision and the seller to initial the revision for those items. So going back to the AVID, I'm going to keep pushing this. Again, Real Broker wants and requires you to do it. I get reminders in the resin file, AVID is required. I get that all the time. And I want you to note, as we said previously, section 1102.3 of the Civil Code provides a buyer with the right to rescind a purchase contract for at least 3 days after the delivery of the transfer disclosure if it didn't occur with the purchase agreement offer. So a buyer can rescind the contract within 3 days of receiving a transfer disclosure. So because our broker, Real Broker, the AVID must be noted on the TDS, that AVID becomes a part of this 1102.3 section Civil Code on the TDS with a 3-day right of rescission. This is part of the reason why your transaction coordinator hammers you for the AVID. I'm sorry, folks, but some of you just do not complete this AVID. You think you're going to do it at the final walkthrough. That's not the appropriate time for this form. And especially if you're a list agent, if you're going to sit around and wait till the end of the transaction, you deliver it, I don't know, a day or two prior to closing. I mean, the loan could be funded already. You send out an AVID triggering that 3-day right of rescission. The buyer could cancel if there's something disclosed on that form that's not sitting right with them, and they would have the right to get their earnest money deposit back. So that's why we hammer you. It's very poor form to do this late in the transaction. So most of you go out to the home inspection, fill it out during the home inspection. We send you a link from Glide that allows you to fill this out online. So please take care of that. I've never experienced a transaction canceling because of an AVID, but I would be sick to my stomach if that was the cause of a transaction canceling, either buyer or seller. Let's see, some of the other best practices: request for repairs. You want to send out your request for repairs prior to the contingency removal date. I know that often one inspection leads to another as you're doing further investigations. But the best practice is, and especially, I don't know, if we're on the listing side, I would love to get that request for repairs at least 1 day prior to the contingency removal date, because the seller may need to do some further investigating. You know, there may be windows that are all foggy and need to, you know, the buyer's asking them to be replaced. Those may still be under warranty. Now they've got to reach out to Milgard or whoever. So just best practice, get your repairs out in a timely fashion so that seller can consider your request. You know, I don't know if you look at it through the lens of a seller and
Wendy, that's
I get a fat request for repairs on contingency removal date, I may not look so kindly on your repair request. So just keep that in mind. Agents should complete the request for repair form, but your TC can assist you with that. We would just need an outline of what you would like to put on that form. We will then send it over to you for you to review, and if it's okay, we'll send it out to your client. But the TCs, we're not going to review the home inspection report. We're not going to make outlines for you and suggestions on repairs. That is your responsibility, but we can assist you in putting together that request and sending that out to your client. One of the best practices that we've instituted here in our department is the buyer inspection waiver form. It's called BIW. And we use that form if your client does not get a home inspection or does not do a termite inspection, either or both. But we also send out that form around the contingency removal time if the home inspection notes that there are certain items that need further inspection. I'm going to send out a buyer inspection waiver that they're going to be waiving those further inspections. We had a transaction this year where buyer moved in, and I think if I recall properly, the sewer backed up and into the house, and the buyer was, you know, understandably very, very upset. Well, in their home inspection, it was noted that they should further inspect with a sewer scope and a plumber, and that wasn't done. So we want to keep our files nice and tight. I like to call them bulletproof, should we ever end up in a legal situation. So that buyer inspection waiver is a nice little layer of protection. Hey, buyer, you were noted to further investigate. You chose not to, and you waived it on this form. Now getting to contingency removals, best practice. If you are not, you know, today's inspection contingency removal date, if you're not sure whether HOA docs were received, preliminary title was received, disclosures were received, escrow documents were received by your client, check with your TC. And really best practice would be check with us anyhow, just to make sure that we are on the same page. And maybe you, the agent, received something from escrow that we weren't CC'd on. So we'll remind you. You're going to get Google Calendar reminders, follow-up boss. I know I get reminders from that. I get reminders from CSU. I get reminders all over the place, and I'm sure you do. But if you haven't communicated with your TC in regards to any of the contingency removals, we'll reach out to you via Slack more than likely and see where we're at. If you're going to have any requests for repairs, and to CC your agent or your TC when sending those docs out. We will help you with the CR form. We'll put it together for you, and we will present it to you via Slack just to make sure we're all on the same page and that we're okay as a TC to send that out to your client. And then let's see, final verification of property condition. This is normally done 5 days prior to closing. There are some circumstances, especially when you've got like a seller in possession. A lot of the times agents will ask, should we do a final walkthrough prior to closing, even though there's a rent back? I say yes. This is, you know, you want to make sure that the property is in similar or is in the condition that it was in when your client made an offer and did inspections. You know, I know the seller is preparing to move. I know they're going to stay there 25 days after closing, but best practice, even if your client doesn't go to this particular final walkthrough, you, the agent, should do a final walkthrough. Make sure, I don't know, make sure the seller didn't remove the chandelier that your client, fell in love with. Make sure that the garage shelves weren't all taken. Holes in the walls. You want to make sure that the house is in condition and ready to close this transaction. And if your client is not going to go to this particular walkthrough, just like I said, go ahead and do this. Your client can waive this particular walkthrough, and then you can do a formal walkthrough with your client when they're taking possession of the property. But just make sure in any situation you ask your client, do they want to do this final walkthrough, and the importance of the final walkthrough. Oftentimes, final walkthroughs, buyers will chime in, stop the funding of the loan, or I'm not wiring my funds in, and we're supposed to close today. They can, legally or not legally, they can hold up closing if they're finding something wrong. So that is your best practice in that situation. Heading to closing, your TC is going to do your commission instruction, your commission disbursement breakdown. If you ever go into resin and you look at your transaction, you can peek in there, and I will show you I'm going to peek in on a file here that closed in resin. Hold on here. Can you guys see that? Okay, so this is resin. This is where we have all of our documents that the broker reviews. There are forms that are required, forms that are not required, and I often upload other forms, email correspondence that have been signed off by the client. And in here is our commission disbursement. I want to kind of breeze through that. But if in your transaction you have any questions or concerns or need to know what's going on commission wise, you can log into resin and you can see this commission breakdown. Here on the Brand Realty, we can have quite complicated commission disbursements. So that's why your TC handles this for you. We've got the real broker split. We've got the Brand Realty splits. We've got referrals that may need to go out. We have ISAs. We may have referral lead team partners, such as like Serri on Realtor.com or George on Rocket, that receive a cut of the splits. So those can get pretty complicated, but so that's where we'll do our breakdown in resin, and we will send the CDA out to you and to the brand management for approval. When we send those out, we'll alert you via Slack, and we ask that you review and sign off on that as soon as possible. And we will also give you a reminder at that time to fill out your pre-closing form. The pre-closing form, I will share that screen. The pre-closing form is important for the back-end systems here, as well as your TC. It alerts us and confirms for us like addendums to the purchase contract, what were the credits in the contract, where you want your commission check to be sent. It confirms the final purchase price, the commission, the splits, if you have a mentor, if an ISA, and if you want to send closing gifts, you can do those automatically via this pending form. We've got Cravery Cookies and some other Cara Collective, La Jolla Rock, as well as Client Giant. By filling out this form, you can automatically have gifts sent out to your clients. The other thing about this form, or the most important thing about this form, is for the TC to know where your check is to be sent. So if you live in Murrieta and you want your check to be sent to your home, please complete this form. Otherwise, what will happen is we are instructed to hold back the commission disbursement and not send it to escrow. And what will happen is 9 times out of 10, escrow sends a check to Real Broker. So Real Broker will receive one check. That check has to go to Northern California. So it could be a good 7 to 10 to 14 days before you get paid electronically via the resin platform. So I highly encourage you to complete your pending form in a timely fashion so that you can get paid in the most timely fashion. And like I said previously, if you want to keep on track of where we're at, what forms have been done, uploaded, completed, visit the transaction in resin. It's all in there, and you can also review the checklist. I didn't have the opportunity to type out a checklist of all the documents that are in resin, so feel free to go in there and review. But again, TCs, that's part of our job to make sure that the file is complete. But I think as agents, it's part of your job to know what forms are expected from your broker. So get familiar in there. And I also highly encourage you as agents, buyer and listing agents, read disclosures, review them, understand them. There are implications and civil codes involved in a few of these disclosures. Your client may want you to go over these forms with them. I mean, in California, we have a plethora of disclosures. If you're, say, in Alabama, you might get 2. In California, I mean, we can get hundreds of pages, and often it's very overwhelming for your client. So you want to be educated on what these forms say and what they're learning from these disclosures. There have been many times where clients call me, and I am happy to go through these forms with your clients so that they understand either as a seller how to complete them, or as a buyer what they're reading. But that ultimately, especially if you're a buyer agent, you should be able to explain these forms and the implications and what they're reading to your client. Let's see, going back, I want to just kind of go back to the pending form. You've got a new deal. If you've got a new construction transaction, you will fill out the same form in the pending form. And again, if you're not seeing that in FUB, you need to do an appointment and a disposition form. And then if you are a referring or a referral agent, meaning you've got a client here in San Diego that's going to buy in Missouri, and you're sending a referral to Suzee Q in Missouri, that's a referral, and you are going to want to enter your client's info in FUB, just like any other client. Every client should be entered in Follow Up Boss. Like Brenda says, if it's not in FUB, it doesn't exist. So once you get that, then you're going to want to send a fully executed referral agreement to the TC team so that we know that you have a referral. We are going to save that referral and in our Google Drive, and then once we are alerted that the deal is under contract and closing, then we are going to send to you, the agent, a referral lease submission form. It's another link in FUB, and then that way you fill out that form so that we're all on the same page that you have a referral transaction upcoming. And there's one thing in regards to referrals and Real and the resin system. Ultimately, we would love that a Real agent refers to a Real agent. That way, it's kept within the company. We've got our standards and our expectations all, on the same level. But it does cause an issue with commission disbursements in the resin Real Broker platform. So it's very, very important that the TC team is aware of your referral, that we have a signed referral agreement, and that we are able to communicate with the agent on the other side. So let's say we're receiving the monies. We're not the agent that initiated the referral, and that particular agent has inputted the transaction in resin, and they have you noted in there. And now we as a TC, we're going to go in there. We're going to start we're going to have that particular transaction opened again in resin. That could cause big problems. There's going to be double fees charged to you. It just becomes a bit of a nightmare. So it's just very, very important. Your best practice when it comes to referrals is that you alert the TC team so that we've got all the proper forms and we do all of the proper input into resin and communicate with the other agent in real what's coming and how this needs to be processed. So I think overall, those are my key best practices when working with a TC and just in general as an agent. I know that we've been here for an hour, so we want to let you guys go and get on with your day and your clients. But if there's any questions before we head off, shoot. Nah. All right. Well, I see everybody here has done transactions with our team. So I'm very happy that you actually don't have any questions. That means you're seasoned, you know what you're doing, and you're presenting yourself and your clients and the team in the best light. I want to, one
I
thing
do
I
have a
want to
question,
say,
Susie.
yeah, before
It
you shoot
applies to
off a
my-
question, Sheree.
Yeah, this just happened with my deal I have right now, and this might be a good thing for other agents on here to hear.
Uh-huh.
So, as you know, so we had a request for repairs. We received back an RRRR. We were told the windows were going to be under warranty. We didn't write that in the request for repairs. My clients weren't worried about it. I wanted to write it in there. Now we're finding out there's a good chance it's not going to be covered under warranty. And in the response for this, our request, there was nothing about the windows in there, of course. So now we're wanting to go back and protect my clients when it comes to windows. And we might have to get as fancy as saying there's going to be some proceeds from the seller's sale held back in escrow to pay for the window repair if it turns out the warranty isn't going to cover it, because the window company's not going out until after we close. So my question to you is, what's the best and cleanest way to handle this now that we have an RRRR? I know that we can modify that. We can say, because we do agree to everything on it. Everything on it's perfect, but we want something about the windows.
Yeah,
In a
so
perfect world, is it better to do the modification on there and write that in? Or check the box that says we're submitting a new request for repairs, write the new one with everything that the seller put on the RRRR, and then add the windows? What's
yeah,
better?
I think the best practice, if the buyer is in agreement with everything that this seller has responded with, best practice is modification and including an addendum. So you're going to modify and say, see addendum number, see addendum. That would be the best practice instead of starting from scratch, because what if you said, scratch this response from the seller, I'm going to start an RR2. Now you're opening up to the seller the ability to rescind that which they have already agreed upon. So I think best practice would be modification.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to just say hi to Ruth. Ruth has really been on a roll. I think she's got her third transaction with the team in escrow. She's got a Zillow Flex, if I'm not correct, right now. And she has been working with her mentor, Steve. And I've been really impressed with Ruth. She's really been a good student. And she's really been communicating very well. She's getting her transaction legs and really learning how to communicate. So Ruth, hats off to you. You're my star of the day.
Wow, thank you so much.
Oh, and I saw your bodybuilding pictures, girl. I knew you were a model or something, but amazing. I'm very impressed with your with your bodybuilding competition photos. So anyhow, everybody, I hope that you found this this little meeting informative and helpful. Again, your TC department is here for you. We do work weekdays and we're generally available 8 to 5. We are usually not available on the weekends, meaning I'm not looking at Slack, I'm not looking at emails, but if you have an urgent matter and you need assistance, you can text your TC, and if we are near a computer, we are more than happy to help you. So just keep those tips and best practices and info in mind. And I just want to wish you a super Tuesday. Go take on your day, go serve your clients, and let's get more deals.
Thank
Great.
you, Suzee.
Thank you, Susie.
Susie,
All
you're
right,
welcome.
everybody. Thank you.